right, folks, welcome back to the layout. I'm actually going to do some work, some scenery work. How about that? Yeah, I know you're probably getting tired of seeing videos of Steve running trains, but hey, I like doing that. So if you're tired of it, don't watch the videos. All right, but what I need to do here, this area has been sitting unfinished or like this for probably years now. I've got, some work done here, down around the front. Put a nice MBR tree there. I like that. This area here in front of the station, I'm okay with that. I think that looks fiddly fine. Kind of like the way that looks. I like the way that, but I hate the way this looks back here. Now, from about here in through here, that is I don't know if Woodland Scenics sells it anymore. They probably do. It's like the forest canopy. Don't like it. Doesn't look good to me. Too small, too low, too clumpy, too bad. Get out. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's history, baby. So what I'm going to do, and I'll walk through and kind of document how I do this, because I don't know what I'm going to do, in all honesty. But I have a bunch of these MBR trees that I paid a queen's ransom for. Shipped them all the way from Poland, and they're sitting under the layout. Well, that does me no freaking good. Why do I buy stuff and let it sit around? Not that model railroaders buy stuff and let them sit in boxes. That's crazy talk. Anyway, so I'm going to bring them out. I'm going to do this area along in here and try to get that, finished or look better, because I do need to bring it all the way over to here. And then I also need to do all along here. This has got kind of an initial layer of scenery here, and I need to do something, probably more trees up along the top of the embankment there. I got to be careful. I was thinking of doing, I'd really like this to look like the tree tunnel that you get in the eastern part of the United States. But if I do that, you probably won't see the trains very much. And part of the fun of a layout is, let's be honest, seeing the trains. So I might just put lower stuff on this side. I really think it probably would be higher, especially working up toward the tunnel. And then I got to do some stuff back there and kind of finish that area, although it doesn't look too bad. That's probably one of the better areas I did, where the foreground meets the backdrop there. But I need to do some work there. I need to do some work over here, coming up this hill. So I've got it kind of nice coming up from Wallace Junction into here. I got a nice little scene block, but I got to finish all this down here. See, I got one tree stuck in there. Yay. So it's got to get done. It's just sitting here and it's starting to bother me that I'm doing all kinds of DCC installs and, watching Steve run trains, which is fun. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But I need to get back and get this layout, moved ahead a little bit. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to show you what I do. I don't really know what I'm going to do. As is typical, I have no plan. I don't do storyboards. I don't plan these videos out. You guys know that. Okay, so let's bring some supplies over. I got to figure out where I'm going to put it, because I don't have room on the layout anymore, because everything's pretty much done. I got to plop trees up. Maybe I can throw them here on the main line. This can be my tree staging area along here. All right, anyway, enough babbling. All right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to yank all this stuff out, get it cleaned up a little bit. There's cobwebs and spider webs and all kinds of other crap in there. Get that cleaned up, and then we're going to get to work. All right, more to come, folks. Hang in there. 5 minutes later. Okay, so there you can see all of that Woodland Scenics forest canopy stuff was removed. And I got that ridiculous, silly black freaking line back there because I didn't put the backdrop. Or anyway. All right, so that's ready to go. I already did put in one new MBR tree. That's right there. That's what they call a weeping willow. I'm not really sure it looks like a weeping willow, but it's a lot nicer, bigger looking tree than this. This was the JTT Scenery, I believe, weeping willow, which kind of has the shape of it, but I don't know. I don't like it at all. I actually had that tree in there, but I said, wait a minute. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean other people might not want to use it. So maybe I'll save, something like this and accumulate things and Next time I go to one of our NMRA division meetings, I'll offer it up. So, hey, anybody want a tree, you can have it for free. Because I don't like it. Okay, so we're starting to get things accumulated. Tools of the trade. We have some soft brushes to clean up the pond because I'm sure I'm going to get leaves on it. I got these little pokers. These are all my scenery, or not all, most of the scenery is pink carved, pink foam. So it's very easy to plant trees. Just like doing a little pokeation. Is that a word? I've got a larger one and a smaller one, smaller diameter one there. Got the, this stuff's excellent. Beacon 3-in-1 glue for gluing down scenery, gluing in trees. Highly, highly recommended. Oh, back here, there's a bunch of N-scale. They call them N-scale. I think they're all the same number, 51-2103. N-scale oak trees, but to me, they're just smaller trees. And what's cool about the MBR trees, at least some of the ones I have, you can see they have that little patch. On the base, they come with these little patches of various kinds of grass. Great, save that stuff. It's an added bonus, folks. Then you can cut it up, use it as weeds, and you can stick it on your... So it's cool. It's a little... Not a freebie because you're paying for the trees, but anyway. All right, so over here... Oops, sorry. Here's some of the bushes. These are good for along the back. What do we got here? We got Große Busche, dark green, dunkelgrün, 50-4001. I'm not going to try to say that in German. And another one of those. And this is one, you can take these if the colors are too close for you. This is a dark green, that's a light green. I took a light green and used some florist paint. I think a basil green and or a dark green, something like that. And you can spray paint them lightly to change the color of them. There's nothing wrong with that. I do have some of the MBR, what they call Shubbery. This is good stuff, especially for along the back. Conceal the gap from the foreground to the backdrop and whatnot. So I got a ton of this stuff. This is light green, dark green. Then they got some of this. What's the color? Blooming. What did I say? I can't read through my cell phone. Blooming white. Okay, I'm not sure why I call it blooming white. That looks more like blooming purple. And that's why I threw the different color stuff in here. But anyway, so we got that. And then, nope, I'm going to go quick. Sorry, folks. Here's some of the trees I brought over. 51-2302, a beech tree. Another beech tree. A beech tree. Beech tree. Say that 4 times fast. Oak. And a maple. Now, in all honesty, they all look very, very similar. Although the bark texture is definitely different on the oak, and the maple is a little different than the 4 beech trees. And what I'm going to do with these, like I said, I haven't done this before. I know you probably can't see, but I'm going to come in here, and since these trees I'm going to use, I think, along here, I'm going to try, cutting some of the branches off the back so I can put the tree like a half relief right against the backdrop, and then hopefully save what I cut off and use it for smaller bushes, here around the layout, something like that. So that's my plan. Again, I don't know if it's going to work. I haven't done this yet, but these are the trees I brought over to try, and these are obviously much larger, and in my opinion only, better looking than that Woodland Scenics forest canopy stuff. All right, I know I'm a scenery snob, sorry, but I want my scenery to look as good as everything else. A lot of guys spend so much time on their rolling stock and their locomotives, and they know every rivet and every type of different lift bar, but they don't. Then they throw ridiculous looking trees in their. Anyway, I'm babbling. All right, so gonna try taking these, get them to a half relief. Starting here at the one end, and if you can see through them too much, because these are larger trees. These are actually like, real trees, not those little tiny, silly Woodland Scenics armatures, or even super trees are smaller than that, unless you glue super tree stuff to a skewer or build up a different trunk, which I've done before, which is fine. Takes a lot of time, though. I'll get into that ramble in a bit about time versus money later on, but I want to try that along there. If I need to shove in some of that shrubbery or other stuff to kind of hide, I got to try a couple and see how it looks. Although, you know, with the black in the background, it might just kind of fade and all blend together fine. I don't know till I try it. So let's get some of these trees, half relief, put them in and see what they look like. Okay, I'm trying to hold this and hold the phone and not make it too wobbly. So there's the front of one of the beech trees. All right, there's the back. So that will sit, imagine in your mind, that's going to sit back against the backdrop. Should be okay. And I can easily move, it's a wire armature, so that's why I say these are nice trees. Easily move the branches around if I need to. All right, so that's going to go in momentarily. And then here are all the pieces that come off. So these are all the branches and some of the, oh, yeah, what are you looking at? Right down here, guys. So this is all going to be usable. These will all be used somewhere else on the layout as, you know, as various shrubbery and whatnot. So you're not really, I don't feel bad. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to take this tree I paid a fair amount of money for and cut it up. But I'm going to use everything. I'm not going to waste anything from it. Unless I really, you know, turn into a butcher and ruin one of them. But this, for example, we'll do it live here. Is it live or is it Memorex? All right, there's the back. So my thought is, now I don't know if I'm going to put it right there, but that's going to sit. Yeah, that's going to cover a lot, I know. Or I could always put it down a little bit. You know, hey, how's that? Nope. I can't do this and hold it. Let me get a couple of these in. I can see I'm probably going to have to do something here. You know, you see me tapping the back where the black is to kind of cover that up. So maybe they're not right against the backdrop. They're like here a little bit with something. Let me lay this tree down. You know, put something along here to disguise that. Maybe some of the shrubbery or even something that's some of the other Heki material. What the Heki? Just to cover up the black. So when you look through it, you see green. So it looks like, oh yeah, the shrubs back there. I get it. That's cool. All right, let me keep noodling around here. Alrighty, making some progress here. I'm liking it. So you can see I got a smaller oak, I think it is. I don't know, whatever. And then another beech over here. You can see how that kind of fills in. You can see a little bit through. But I think, now here's an example. Here is a bit of this tree that I took off to put it in there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this live. Although that would make a great looking little bush. But what I'm going to do, you can see that black spot right there. Right there. Well, all I'm going to do is take this little morsel right here. I'm going to come in and I'm going to simply, I'm not going to glue it. I'm not going to worry about gluing it. I'm just going to go like that. Bada boom, bada bing, done. There's other ones, other pieces of tree off of the back of this tree. All the pieces that came off are kind of put in here. I was trying to hide this little bit of black part here. I might have to do some work on that, but they're just stuck in there. No need to glue them. Again, unless you're planning to get hurricane force winds in your layout room, which means you've got other issues, that's going to work. Okay, I like it. Now, do I want to do anything else? You know, here's what I like to do. All right, get this like this. Now, obviously, I'm still going to move across and do all the way. I want to get at least all the way across the bridge, all the way to here. All right, so I'll do that. But I like to get, you know, to a certain level like this, stop, go away, let it marinate in its juices overnight, and then come down and see how it looks, and then maybe come in and put some smaller stuff. You can always come in and take some filigrane busha, some of the stuff from Silflor, and you know, put it in as other type of growth. But I like to let it sit for a little bit so then I can come back and take a look at it later. So there you go. Now to me, that looks 100% better than what was there. Not done yet. Still got a little ways to go, but we're going to keep plugging away. Same thing. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to cut some more trees up and put them in across. I'm not sure with the rock here what I want to do, but I'll think about that or just throw something on there. Again, you don't like it. If someone looks at it and says, Rob, that was me, I hate it. Well, okay, you come in, you take the trees out, you do something else. It isn't the end of the world. But to me, that looks a lot better and I think a lot more realistic. And I admit the light might not be great right here. Another thing I'm noticing, sidetrack, tangent alert, tangent alert. I probably ought to come in and put a couple more of these 2x2 LED troughers in. Just because it's a little bit dark over here, especially when you don't really notice it until you're trying to take pictures of it or make a video. But, you know, if I have one there, if I put one here, or maybe put a 4-foot one here to light up. Oops, what am I doing? You guys can't see anything. But you can see this whole area here at the west end of the yard is a little bit dark. Anyway, tangent now over. All right, so gonna let that sit. Gonna keep kind of moving along here. Like I said, what I want to do is get at least all the way to the other side of the bridge. See how that looks. Let that gestate for a little bit, and then come back and maybe add some more stuff, or you can take stuff out again. Whatever, you know. It's scenery. It's easy to change. All right, there you go. All right, having fun here. So let's keep plugging away. Okay, this area here, I've been kind of noodling what I want to do here. I think it's kind of not a lot of room there, and I don't know that I want to just run trees or those they're called high bushes across. So I'm thinking, well, what if? Bear with me here. What if I took some of the shrubbery, and this is the dark green 50-5001. All right, here's how it comes out. And you can kind of see, if my phone will focus, it can be ripped apart, and then you can cut it down to size, and it looks like it's really good shrubbery. I like it. It's good stuff, man, good stuff. And I have a lot of it. So if I took something like that, and maybe tried to cut this a little bit, but what if I kind of took it and just kind of put it in there, again, to give it a little bit of a, it probably won't sit there. I'm going to try to, bear with me, folks. I don't know if I can get this to sit here without it. Okay, all right, that's not exactly right, but, you know, something like that. Just to hide that gap, you know, run that across, you know, maybe another little piece here, and then start again with the trees over here. And then maybe you can do some smaller stuff here, hanging over the edge of the rocks, whatnot. So what about that? Might be promised with that. Let me, you know what? It's Friday night. I'm going to go grab a beer, sit on the porch, and think about it. All right, be back shortly. All right, so I did decide to go ahead and put that dark green shrubbery, as you can see, back against the wall there. Now I'm going to come back in and do a little bit more fiddling, trying to make it look a little bit better, but to me it looks pretty darn good. And then I did come along, I added another tree here, some of the lighter green shrubbery there, some of the, what they call the bloomin' white, but I don't think it's bloomin' white. It sure looks like it's a purplish color to me. I put 2 spruce trees here for a little variety, and then a little bit more of that colored shrubbery, and then a nice large tree there at the end, kind of as the anchor for this little scene. I like to do that. So that's where we are now. Now I do want to come back and add some smaller bushes and shrubbery, and maybe some some filigrane bushes sticking out of here to give it some variety and a little bit of color variation. But overall, that's to me, it looks a lot better than. All right, so we started with this. Okay, if you remember, that's what we had in there. That's the, and I'm not knocking Woodland Scenics. It's just I don't particularly like this product anymore after seeing the tree. So now we have this. Now to me, to my eye, that looks a lot better, a lot more realistic, a lot more, the vision that I have for my layout. A little bit more expensive, yes. But let me go off on one of my tangents. If you take the amount of time it takes, for example, probably the closest way to get, similar to the MBR trees that literally you just take out of the pack, poke a hole, and put some glue on and put them in, is to use super tree material, which in my opinion takes a lot of work. You've got to, first of all, the super tree pieces on their own aren't trees. Maybe they're saplings, but they're not like this. You're never going to get something like that straight out of a super tree pack, and I don't think it's really meant for that. The way I would try to get something like this is use a skewer, and then you have to go through and filter or trim all of the super tree branches, get those little leaves out of there, and there's a lot of them. If you think that's easy and not going to take time, you haven't done it yet, or you've left a lot of them in. Anyway, so that takes time. Then you glue them to the skewer. Then you go ahead and paint it, not hard, and then you dip it in your matte medium or your Mod Podge. You put the foliage on it, and then you let it sit and dry. Then you maybe add some more, a different variety. You spray it. You get the hairspray on it, or you spray it with a mist of whatever adhesive you use. That's fine. You can do that. But you're taking a lot of time to make trees. Think about it. Really think about what your time is worth to you. Because so many model raritors, it seems to me, are so cheap that they don't want to spend money, but they'll spend inordinate amounts of their time, which is okay. It's a hobby. You enjoy your hobby the way you enjoy your hobby. But I want to get things done. So anyway, just a thought that, again, you can spend your time, you can spend your money. And in this case, I'm doing a little bit of both, but more spending my money. But it's done. I mean, this literally took me about a half hour to do all this. Now, of course, I am going to make some super tree stuff. I have some in progress for the peninsula, but that's just the way I think of things. So, all right, more to come. Alrighty, a little more progress going on here. So what I did there in the back, I threw in some, that's a piece of the tree, one of the trees that came off. There's some filigrane busha. There's some Martin Welberg bushes kind of popped in there. There's some filigrane bushes back. Just to give a little bit of variety. And they're just stuck in there. So if I don't like it over time, all I got to do is come in and pull them out. Same over here. I also added a couple filigrane busha here. And then a similar color piece there on top of the rocks. Figuring, some of the seeds blew over there and it's starting to grow up there. Because that's what nature does. So over here, I got that one tree at the end. And then this is another drop piece from one of the backs of the other trees. I think I threw in a couple, this bush here. There, that purple, you'll notice, those of you that know me, that have watched, struggled through some of my videos before, know that for every scene that I do, and I'm considering this sort of a scene from, from here over to roughly here. To me, that's a separate vignette. I always put my signature, which is a little tiny piece of Silflor, lavender, pink, purple flowers in it somewhere. Just a nice subtle little bit. So that's my signature for it there. So there you go. Now what I'm trying to decide, I'm gonna put, I put two bushes here. I'm gonna put a tree here, which is a little bit risky because it's somewhat close to the aisle, but I really, really like this MBR oak tree. Man, it looks good. You probably won't be able to appreciate it with my cell phone camera, but the bark is good. It's just a nice looking tree. So I'm gonna put that one right here carefully, a little bit back from the edge. And then what that's going to be is kind of, see, I got a high tree here. You come down here. So this is kind of like say, okay, that's the end of this one vignette. And then you move over as you walk with your train. You'll walk over here, see the trees piled on top of each other. And then this is kind of another transitional vignette from leaving Eugene Yard, then going through, coming around, and into Wallace Junction over here. So still a lot of work to do up there, and we'll get to that in a moment. But what I'm also deciding is, do I want to, since I'm doing some refreshing here, here's a question for you. All right, as you look at that, gentle viewers, one One thing I'm not sure about are these trees right here. These are JTT scenery trees, pine type trees. Definitely not the same look as the MBR trees. Do they look okay? I can't really decide. I'm kind of what, I'm seeing, or I'm not seeing the forest for the trees because I'm just so used to it. But I like to do leave a comment down below. Do you think they should come out and be replaced with something to match the overall ambiance of the entire scene? Or, just leave them alone. They look okay. There is one more that's back here, right down there. I tried to pull it out. It's really in there good. I'm not going to risk yanking it out because I know what'll happen. I'll start pulling, and you know what happens when you start pulling and putting, pressure on stuff. I'm gonna go right into this, and that would really torque me up. So I'm not. It's gonna stay. Whatever. It's kind of hard to see. It's back behind the bridge, so whatever. Good enough. There's actually two larger ones and a smaller one. I'm not sure of. I could replace them, with some more of the MBR type, conifer type trees. And also, so on this point here, this will be a viewer poll, and I'm going to go with what the most viewers say. Either leave it alone or change it. There you go. How's that? Getting involved on the layout. Here, again, this whole area here. Let me take this mat out of the way. From the other side of the bridge all the way up to the tunnel, and even on top of the tunnel, was done with Heki wildgrass mats. They're fine. They're okay. But I'm not sure it's the look that I want. It's a little matted down. It might look fine, especially here on this, cell phone camera. But in person, I'm thinking of changing it, or at least part of it. So what I'm debating is, do I want to add this MBR mat, which is the same kind of color and texture, a little more rough looking. This mat matches the color palette over here a little bit better. So what I want to, and it won't be hard to do. I mean, these mats are very easy to use. What I would have to do, set that mat down there. Basically, just kind of pull this scruffy stuff. And I'm saying maybe from here over to here, and then kind of transition to that lighter color, which I guess is okay. Again, I can't do a whole lot tree-wise along here because I don't want to, block the scene. I want you to see the beautiful trains and the wonderful weather in it I do and all that kind of shenanigans. I will have to put some more shrubbery and bushes and whatnot here, but not all the way down because it is an embankment, and I actually think that looks okay, kind of as a scruffy looking embankment. You can see how I got some green coming down, then it kind of transitions on the more vertical. But maybe, up here, definitely need to do some stuff. And there can be certain things here and there growing out of the embankment. I might want to look at some prototype photos and just kind of see kind of how that works. So that's where we are now. And then I want to get, again, up to the tunnel. I'll probably do some more heavier treeage up here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do up here yet, but that'll be a separate segment. So for now, that's kind of where we are. And I got to decide if I want to pull this off. In fact, I think I'm going to. I don't know why I'm saying when my mind's already made up. And then that's where we are so far, back behind there. So pretty much I can say, and you can always come in and fiddle around, and that's the fun part. You got half hour to kill. Just come down and pull out some tufts or some little bushes and add some deadfall, which I did do on beneath the tree. It's amazing how much deadfall is out there if you go out into any wooded area. So I'm saying pretty much from the station, as I drone back, so from the station over to here, minus the one tree I want to put in, but I'll put that in. If I'm going to change this mat out, I want to wait and then put the tree in. It's going to be pretty much done. Again, let it sit for a while, let it gestate. You can always come back later and decide to change or modify things slightly or add stuff and, just poke around, add details, that kind of stuff. All right, so there you go. So let me get this one area here remediated, and then we'll continue on. Okay, so here you see the mat roughly cut. It's not in place yet. But I cut it to go from basically from the aisle over the little hill there, and that's going to go right down toward the tracks, and then we'll do some other things to make it blend. I had to cut it here to kind of keep it wanted to kind of fold because it's all one mat. And don't worry, you're not cheating if you use a piece of mat that looks good, it's fine. You don't have to cut it up into all the little pieces, although you certainly can. But I think it looks fine like this. And then, since I'm going to put a tree here, I took out some of that Heki wildgrass. I may kind of leave that alone. I will come in here and do something to fill that in. Again, hard to see till I get that down. And then we'll have to do a good blend over to here. Although the more I look at it, I don't know if I like that yellowish stuff. And I might need to pull that out and put different mats along this whole side. We'll see. Okay, so the mat that I'm using, just FYI, is the Type 18XL item 55-1018. But I don't think these are available, or at least in that particular item number. I was just on the MBR site because I just ordered some more stuff. Yep, from Poland. Again, well, here comes a tangent. By the way, the exchange rate now between the US dollar and the euro is hovering right around 1-to-1. So if you're considering doing that and ordering stuff from MBR, now's the time to do it. With the rate being 1-to-1, and when you buy from them, since they're going to ship it outside of the EU, you also get a reduction in the VAT, which I think is 8%. So if you're going to do it, now's the time to strike. That's why I did. And I did buy some additional mats, but they're kind of, at least the part numbers are different. I like this tonality. I like this kind of darker olivey, greenish type color. I think it looks good. But the item number I gave you, I don't know if that exact item number is available. You have to go look at their mats and see which ones you like. I ordered several more and a bunch of trees as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get this in. Now, to put this down, you can come in and use the Beacon 3-in-1 glue. Just put a nice bead in there. It'll hold it. Or, in this case, what I may actually do is use some spray adhesive. Just, very carefully come in, spray it over the top of the hill there. Take this. It sticks very well to this stuff. Works good. And then get that in. Then you just got to kind of hold it for a moment till it kind of sets up, and then you're good to go. All right, so let's get this, at least get this piece in, and then do some fill in here. And then when that's down, this tree will go in, and then this area will be pretty much done, for the most part, kind of up to the two whistle posts here. So I still got more back there. All right, anyway, I'm getting babbly. All right, more to come. Okay, so here I'm going to maybe wrap this one up for now. So here's the view as I walk around the end of the peninsula, and I really like the way it looks. Huge difference from what it was before. Very, very glad I had to do this. So as we go in here, we're going to look at what was done. And I am going to put together in the description, I have a list of everything I used. I think almost everything I used. Just so if people are interested, it's in there. You will notice I did decide, I did yank out those two. The small ones there, the other ones I yanked out, and I put in one of the MBR spruce trees. I just, I'm sorry. In the comments, you can see whether you agree or disagree. That's fine. So this, I'm going to say, is pretty much wrapped up for now. I did get this mat here. Again, this is in partially, and that's just temporary right now for that. And then, like I said, I got that oak tree in there, which I really, really like that. I'm afraid, I'm sorry, it's probably not going to show up very well. Maybe I can lighten it a little bit, but to me, that's just a nice, again, a little bit of a view block. I try to break things, somewhat into little vignettes. So you have from obviously if you're working in the yard, well, the whole yard's kind of one big vignette. Then you come up here to the station scene. Sort of, the road, and then you go across the bridge, and then, with the trees there, that's kind of a little bit of a break. Again, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do up here, where it's just kind of some running. Again, it runs through under the tunnel, underneath the little farm scene up there, where it ties into the backdrop. It comes around into Wallace Junction. And again, these trees are there kind of as a view block at this end of Wallace. There's the New York, Ontario, and Western ABA set. And then over here, you kind of have the, again, you know, the bridge with the higher tree. That's kind of, again, kind of another view block, so to speak. Then you head around the peninsula and then up around into Lake City, which is on the other side there. And then what I did do here, this is old, this has been for a while, but these I put in as it's not the greatest. I know a lot of people would put, you know, the whole divider with a backdrop. Yeah, I'm not into that crap. But that's a little bit of a view divider between Wallace Junction, which is slightly lower, not a lot, but a little bit lower, and then up to Lake City. So when you're working down here, you can't quite as easily see, you know, what's going on up in Lake City, and vice versa. All right, so that's that. Now up here on top of the peninsula, that's all going to be basically from here up. You can see those are just some armatures that have been sitting there for a while. I want it all to be wooded, kind of, again, as a view block, more so when you're standing over in Lake City looking back toward Eugene, it'll kind of block the view. So that's going to be some high trees. I'm going to use probably those armatures. I do have a bunch of super tree created with skewers, much taller, higher trees in that range of height to go initially. Those trees are just kind of up and out because that's basically a forest up there. And then I'll come down and probably use some of the MBR trees to blend as it comes down. It gets closer to the, you know, tying into this field. This field will stay like that. That's my teddy bear fur field. I'm not going to rip that out. That was a lot of flipping work. So that's a big thing I need to do, is get that done. I do need to try getting the way in the back. Way back here. I did do some scenery back there. Again, it needs some trees and it needs some finishing up. But I have started doing the hill above the tunnel that comes out of Sharon into that curve. And that's kind of an area a lot of folks don't really go. I mean, you'll be there if you're working the engine terminal a little bit. If you're bringing your train out of Eugene while it's going around the end, you might be up there a little bit. But for the most part, it's not a very populated area. So I will do some trees and stuff like that, but that I might let that wait a little bit. And I also might try, I did use some of the mats back there. I want to see if I can pull it off to add some 3D dimensionality to the mats. If I can use some static grass on it. Never tried that. Don't know how well it'll work, but the guinea pig area will be back there in the corner. So if I mess it up, it's not that hard to hide it from people. All right, so that's kind of where we are. Like I said, now what I have to decide, now that I'm fairly happy with the scene that we have here coming across the bridge, do I want to continue, you know, the newer mat, which is a technique I picked up, you know, subsequent to using the Heki wildgrass, which is fine. It looks okay. But again, things evolve, your skills evolve. And I just don't know if I want to keep it that way. Because it is kind of a garish transition here, which I could make work. It's not a big deal. But do I want to take this out and put mats in, basically, you know, come along here and then maybe come up, you know, up to here and kind of tie it in with up here, which I certainly could do. And then I got to work on this up here. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that farmhouse there. That was a kit from, what was it from? Oh man, I forget. But I always liked it. It's actually a German farmhouse. It's a European brand kit. I have to remember what it was because for the life of me, I can't remember. I don't know if I want to keep it there. It just plopped sitting there right now. Oh, Godzilla. I might keep that little chicken coop. That's a little Walther's chicken coop. I'm not sure about Bessie the cow out there, but that just needs to be kind of into the scenery a little bit. Again, it's just sitting there. And then I'm going to keep a lot of this the same. Maybe put a nice big tree right in the corner. You know, maybe like a tree line along here, a tree line along here, and then a big tree there to kind of block the corner because it's kind of garish and 90 degree-ish. And I can't do a whole lot more because basically from here out along here and then back there, is that where it is? Yeah, somewhere in there. That's all the hatch. In case I have to get into the tunnel, in case anything mischievous happens inside there, that's a lift out hatch that will come out in case I need it. And again, I think it kind of blends nicely. I'm not sure I like these JTT trees. Again, that's from way earlier in my scenic career, so I may pull them out and do something different. I think it would be kind of nice to have a tree line coming down here. That kind of would look good. But again, I might use the MBR trees. That's to make it look a little bit more up to my standards today. And they're going to work over here. Oh, there's so much to do. So many trees. Yeah, need to work up here again from the other side of this view. This is kind of the view block from this end of Wallace Junction. But again, it probably should continue wooded up here, across the tunnel down there somewhat. Now that's kind of a steep embankment, so that won't change too much. But probably should add some trees and whatnot in there to get that area built up. So that when you stand back here, it looks like it's again, typical eastern treed-in area. Won't do much around the branch going into staging. That's kind of fine the way it is, I think, because I did kind of do that way early. Again, that's got a bunch of the earlier type trees, the JTT scenery trees, which, you know what, it's far enough back and you don't really see it. You don't really see it at all from this side. It's more viewable when you're over in that side looking back. So still some work to do. So that's it. So let me, let's see, go ahead and wrap this